Hi, welcome to Driving TV and I hope you are well. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about cyclists, how to overtake cyclists, how to deal with cyclists on the road. Many learners, they get confused soon as they see a cyclist on the road. They don't know what to do, how to deal with it. So in this video, I'd like to talk to you about cyclists on the road. Let's start the lesson. So let's talk about cyclists on the road. So if we talk about the basics about cyclists on the road, you as a driver, me, myself and the rest, we as a driver, how to deal with cyclists on the road. So first of all, we must understand and accept that cyclists are allowed to be on the road. That's the first thing we must understand, because unless you do, soon as you see a cyclist, you're going to get stressed, you're going to get angry, and it will be difficult for you to deal with the cyclist because you don't accept them to be on the road. Unless you accept, it is going to be difficult for you to deal with the cyclist. So number one, we have to accept that they are allowed to be on the road. Remember, cyclists are not aliens from another planet. They are human just like yourself. Today you're a driver, tomorrow you could be a cyclist. Remember, many cyclists on the road, they do drive car too. So just because they're cyclists doesn't mean they're alien from another planet and they shouldn't be on the road. So number one, you have to accept that they have the right, just as you have the right to be on the road. So accept they're allowed to be on the road. Number one. So imagine you're driving along and you see a cyclist. Okay, imagine you're driving and you see a cyclist. Remember, they didn't come from the sky. Cyclist has been on the road when you are driving, so you should be recognizing the cyclist from far away. Okay, don't be surprised because they didn't come suddenly in front of you. So look ahead, look early, and make sure you recognize if there is a cyclist in front of you. Okay, so you've seen the cyclist, they're quite far away. What do? You look at the mirror and you drive in a way you know that you'll have to deal with the cyclist. Okay, because the cyclist is not going to be same speed as you because you're driving a car, you're going to close the gap really quickly. So what do? As you close the gap, you look at the mirror and you keep slowing the car down. You keep slow. You reduce your speed until it is safe for you to overtake. You can't just overtake because there is a bike, I just have to go around, even though it's not safe. Many learners, the problem they face soon as they see a cyclist is when they slow down. They feel that the car behind, what are they thinking? What are they going to do? They worry more about the car behind than the cyclist. And this is the problem. You as a learner, you don't have to worry about the car behind. Your problem is the cyclist. You have to deal with the cyclist. And they're not going to just disappear, and you can't just overtake if it's not safe. Okay, so you look at the mirror, you reduce your speed and you drive. As you go closer to the cyclist, you look for the gap to overtake. If the road is not safe to do 20 anyway, and the bike is doing 20 anyway, you don't need to overtake. So consider the speed the bike is riding or going. So consider the speed first and see what the bike is doing. If the bike is going the road speed, then that means you don't have to overtake. But if the bike is going less than the road speed, then that means you have to consider overtaking the bike, which means you have to find the right gap, the right space for you to overtake. You can't just overtake. So the next thing is, when you do overtake, how much space should you be giving to a bike when you overtake? The space you should be giving is same space as you would when you overtake a car. So if that was a car, the space you would have normally given to a car to overtake, that's how much space you should be giving to a bike. Okay? If you do overtake, make sure it's safe and make sure you give enough space when you go around the bike. And then when you come back front of the bike again, make sure the space is there for you to come back and don't cut front of the bike as if they need to slow down for you. So go round. So you go round the bike and they come front of the bike after overtaking so that they don't need to slow down for you. Okay, so go and don't cut front of them when you come in again. So just to clarify, imagine this is a bike and you're driving here. Okay, you're coming along, there's a bike here. Like I said, first of all, make sure you recognize there is a bike. Secondly, for you to overtake, you need to go around giving this bike as if this was a car. So imagine this is a car, giving enough space. So you would overtake as if you are overtaking a car. So how do you do that? You look at the top and right mirror, you put the right signal on, look at the right blind spot, and then overtake. Also, before overtake, consider if there's a problem here, because if there's another bike here, or maybe a slow moving vehicle, maybe another car here, then you can't overtake. Okay, so don't make a decision to overtake unless you could come back nicely, not front of them like that. Okay, so don't cut across front of them. Make sure you go and overtake and come back so that they don't need to slow down for you. Okay, number one, don't even think of overtaking if they are riding or if they are going same speed as the road speed. If the road is 20 and if they are riding 20, then it's fine, you don't need to overtake. But if they are going less than the road speed and you think you could overtake them safely, consider the same procedure as you would overtake a car. So what do? You look at the mirror, put the signal on, look at the blind spot, and overtake. Okay, next thing you need to understand, what if the road has double solid white line in the middle of the road? What does that mean? I'm sure you know what it means. If you have double solid white line in the middle of the road, it means you can't overtake on there. But if there is a bike going up to 10 or less miles per hour, then you can overtake if it's safe to do so. So let me repeat, if you are driving on the road and there is a bike and you have double solid white line in the middle, or the line on your side is solid, which means you can't overtake normally. But if there is a bike going up to 10 or less miles per hour, then you can overtake if it's safe to do so. Next thing is you have the bike lanes, so make sure you consider not to drive on them. Also, the bike spaces on traffic light. So I'm sure you notice when you drive, when you go to a traffic light, in the beginning there is a cycle space and it is for them. If there's no bike there and you go and stop on there on the traffic light on is red, you will fail your driving test. Make sure if it's red, and even if there's no bike, don't go on the cycle space, stop before it, leaving space empty for the bike. Obviously if there's a bike, you're not going to go there anyway, but even if there's no bike, don't go on this space, leave it empty, because that's for cyclists. If you go and stop on the cycle space, you will fail your driving test for that. So leave this space empty. If you are learning and you need help on learning and passing the driving test, don't forget to take the advantage of our online course. The course gives everything a learner needs to learn to drive and to pass the driving test. It has everything a learner needs. I will leave a link on the description for you to have a look. Have a look and see and read, and if you like it, you could always join the course. The other thing about the cyclist is, you've probably seen it when you were driving, is that you see two cycles together next to each other and they are riding, not behind each other but next to each other. Is that allowed? Yes, that is the recommendation for the cyclist to ride if there's two. Why? Because then it's easier for you to overtake two in one go. Imagine there are two cycles and they are behind each other. It will be difficult for you to overtake both in one go, because the space is longer. You'll have to overtake two bikes together, whereas if the both bikes were next to each other, it is easier for you to overtake because you just overtake both in one go. So for cyclists, it is recommended for them, if there are two people or two cyclists riding together, is to ride next to each other. That way, for other drivers, it will be easier to overtake them in one go. So if you see two cyclists next to each other, don't get angry. That is recommended for them to do, so it's easier for you to overtake all in one go. So if there are two cyclists, four cyclists, six cyclists, it is recommended for them to ride next to each other in twos. That way it will be easier to overtake, rather than if they were all behind each other, the queue is going to be long and it will be difficult for you to overtake. If there are two cyclists on the road, it is recommended for them to ride next to each other. Okay, next to each other, not behind each other, next to, because that is how it is recommended for them to ride. Now when you see like that, next to each other, you might think, why are they doing that? You might get angry and thinking, why are they doing that for? The reason is because that is how it is recommended for them to ride. Why? Because you as a driver, it will be easier for you to overtake two all in one go. Imagine the bike was here, there's another one here. It will be harder for you to overtake both. So if they're next to each other, you just take both in one go, rather than if they were behind, then it will be longer for you to overtake, and thus harder to overtake. And this is why it is recommended for the bike to do twos. So if there's two, there will be two next to each other. If there are four, there will be another one here. So in twos. And the other thing is, make sure you read the rules on the highway code regards to cyclists on the road, what you should do. In this video, obviously I'm highlighting the important things about cyclists and overtaking, but if you read it yourself, the rules of overtaking, you learn more by knowing, not just a cyclist, how to overtake other vehicles. What is the rule? What does the highway code say? Read it. It's rule number 162, 163, and there are other rules for you to learn about the cyclists on the road. So make sure you read on the highway code the rules on cyclists. So these are the things I am sharing in this video. If you need any help on learning to drive and to pass the driving test, don't forget to take the advantage of our online course, which gives everything a learner needs to learn to drive and to pass the driving test. The course has everything a learner needs in a systematical order. So everything a learner needs to learn to drive and to pass the driving test. I will leave a link on the description for you to have a look. Have a look and see and read. And if you like it, you could always join the course. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give a thumbs up, and please do make a comment what you think of the video. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, and hope to see you again on the next video. Bye for now.